Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Of course, the topic of conversation in the news cycle right now is Tucker Carlson's January 6 expose after Kevin McCarthy gave him access to over 40,000 hours of video footage, and there's a whole lot of people and a whole lot of different people and different tribes with different takes. But of course, if you're looking for the absolute worst, most garbage take on the internet, and of course on TV, then look no further than the worst show in cable news history, with the dumbest takes of all time, ABC's The View. In yesterday's episode of ABC's The View, Whoopi Goldberg educates us on the Constitution, specifically the First Amendment, and what is and isn't allowed. Apparently, according to legal expert Whoopi Goldberg, the same genius who thought Jill Biden was an actual MD, an actual doctor, we all have it wrong. We all totally misunderstand the First Amendment, totally misunderstand the Constitution. So let's get educated. We've got some stuff to get into. Let's roll the tape. All right, folks, I'm pretty sure you guys are already filled in. You probably don't need some background context. Let's just play the clip and have a conversation.
I have a question. How come this is not thought of as being recruiting? How come they're not thinking about this as radicalizing? Why is this not being scrutinized the way that they scrutinize other things? Because to me, this should be against the law. You should not be able to lie to the American knowingly. And, you know, it's one thing if you made a mistake and you didn't know, but we heard for 5 or 6 years how, you know, the media was lying, sackadoo, they were fake news, they were this. So how come? What do we do as Americans to say this is not okay?
You'd have to hide the First Amendment.
Yeah.
I think you,
the First Amendment doesn't allow you to willingly lie.
That's their defense.
Can I just say one thing? I think Tucker Carlson is more destructive to American political discourse than Donald Trump, and I think he's more powerful.
I think they're all destructive because they lie willingly.
I see. Apparently, the First Amendment, the Constitution, has its limits. It doesn't allow you to willingly lie. A real interesting take. Democrats are actually doubling down on the Chuck Schumer angle here, that Fox News should censor Tucker Carlson, and Whoopi Goldberg is taking it to a whole other level. She believes that the government, or I guess the DOJ, should step in to shut down Fox News and prosecute them for, quote, recruiting domestic terrorists, because of course, according to her, that would be the constitutionally right thing to do. Holy moly, my brain. Like I always say, folks, I actively lose IQ points every single time I turn on ABC's The View. Thankfully, though, it's not permanent. It usually lasts around 24 hours, and the next day I'm back to normal. But what an argument from Whoopi Goldberg. The Constitution, the First Amendment, doesn't allow you to willingly lie. Actually, yes, it does. Now, there are some laws put in place to protect consumers, to protect people from fraud. If you tell someone to invest $1,000 and you're going to come back with 100x return in 2 years guaranteed, and then you just walk away with the money, well, then you've committed a fraud. But simply lying, that is absolutely constitutionally protected free speech. Could you imagine if it wasn't, the amount of people that would be in prison? I mean, for Pete's sakes, Whoopi Goldberg, you and every single individual on The View would be incarcerated if lying was an illegal act. Holy moly, the women from The View are angry that Fox News is supposedly misrepresenting the truth. The same women who promoted every single left-wing conspiracy about Donald Trump and Republicans over the last 7 years, without question. They're now going to look down upon Fox News and claim that legal action should be taken to censor them from supposedly willingly lying. And what they mean by willingly lying is exposing the truth and exposing the willful lies of Nancy Pelosi and her phony January 6 committee. And somehow this is supposedly recruiting domestic terrorists. She's actually making the implication, I mean, she's implying a little bit subtly that Fox News should be treated the same way Al-Qaeda and ISIS are treated in terms of online extremist recruitment campaigns. You cannot make this stuff up. I mean, this is possibly one of the dumbest segments I've ever witnessed aired on TV. Tucker Carlson shouldn't be allowed to willingly lie to his audience about January 6th. Well, how exactly is he lying, Whoopi Goldberg? Oh, he's lying by, transparently showing video evidence of the day. Oh, Okay, I get it. We should definitely sick the FBI on him. How terrible. Let's have a conversation about willingly lying to the American people. You know who really lied about January 6? Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff, who both during the January 6 committee primetime segments omitted key facts from their presentation, purposely presented video evidence and text message evidence, and evidence of course within quotation marks, that was missing context or edited to purposely omit context from the record in order to paint a picture, create a narrative, rather than showing the whole thing. Now let's have a conversation about willingly lying. Let's continue to bring back Nancy Pelosi's daughter, who as a videographer during the day is an architect of a lot of the narrative and misinformation surrounding the January 6th Democrat argument. Nancy Pelosi's daughter claiming this about the Q Shaman.
I tell him he got great legal. Sometimes I say 8 months was great. Considering that the shaman who did not, I mean, what did the shaman do? He stood there. What did Tom do? He stood there. The shaman got how many months? 41.
Let's have a conversation about willingly lying, considering there was exculpatory evidence available, or at least evidence that suggested the Q Shaman was peaceful and in fact was being chaperoned by police officers who were opening doors for him and leading him to a particular place. And that evidence, which would have probably been game-breaking for his legal case, I believe he's been sentenced to 4 years in federal prison, that evidence was withheld. Jacob Chansley, otherwise known as the Q Shaman's lawyer or legal representation, had something to say about it on Tucker Carlson's show last night.
Clearly, just to make sure that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, had you seen that clearly exculpatory tape of your client at trial?
No. And through each of those 3 hearings, that government assistant U.S. attorney knew the most important aspect of that hearing was that Jake was not violent. The government knew. They knew that Jake had walked around with all of these police officers. They had that video footage.
So please, let's have a conversation about willfully lying. This is what we call lying by omission, and you know what? It might actually have legal ramifications. Tucker Carlson exposing the truth is not an illegal act. It's not an unconstitutional act. And even if it was, he's not guilty of what Whoopi Goldberg is accusing him of. Purposely withholding video evidence that was relevant to Jacob Chansley's legal defense, well, that right there, I have a feeling, could possibly be construed as illegal or at least immoral and should grant this individual a retrial. What an absolute disaster. And Alyssa Farah Griffin is probably the most pathetic on the panel. She's supposed to be representing the opposition view, the conservative view, yet she constantly just sides with the liberals on the panel. She's fake opposition, controlled opposition, if you will, claiming Tucker Carlson is a greater threat to American democracy than Donald Trump. Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump are frankly the last hope to conserve American democracy. Ironically enough, at least that's my view. There's nothing more rich than being lectured about democracy and willfully lying by a bunch of left-wing, fake news, mainstream media puppets who have spent the last 7 years lying non-stop, causing a massive cultural rift, divide in American society, disgustingly and disingenuously attacking Republican politicians and of course by extension Republican voters, smearing them, lying about them, trying to illegitimately prosecute them, just like Whoopi Goldberg is trying to do here, arguing that the DOJ should go after their political opponents because they're reporting on facts transparently that disprove their dishonest narrative in their massive media gaslighting campaign to slander MAGA Republicans as domestic extremist threats. Not much else to be said. ABC's The View continues to be the absolute worst show on TV, with the dumbest and most ignorant takes imaginable. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know that we would love to have you here at the Liberal Hive Mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.